getting closer to pushing me off a life's little edge. G'day guys, Chaos Chronicles. Alright, so it's been a long time since I've done a bit of a story time and told some of my own stories. So, alright, so today I'm going to tell you about the time and it's a bit of a lesson on how you need to act should you be put in this position in jail, and hopefully you're not in prison and putting yourself in this position. But anyway, I remember we got a new sweeper in the unit, or a new billet we call them here in Victoria, and so he was the sweeping billet. And so I remember twice earlier on that week, like, he was sweeping and like I wasn't even near his sweeping stuff, and he's like, "Oh, you're fucking right, bro." And I was like, "Chill out, mate." Like, he had no idea who I was, and he was a big guy, and I think he thought that just because he was big that, you know, he could, you know, use his size and pick on people or whatnot. But anyway, later on in that week, you know, that happened again, and he was like, "Why are you always trying to walk where I'm sweeping?" And I'm like, "Mate, I'm clearly walking around where you're sweeping, mate." And so anyway, there was a little bit of tension between me and this guy, and I remember one of my very close mates was actually, like, one of my crew was like going through a murder trial at the time, and he's a pretty high profile prisoner. I don't want to name drop, but he's very high profile, underbelly style guy. And yeah, so he was going to court, and he actually like had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to leave at like 5 or 6, and they would then drive him to the Supreme Court, leave him in the truck like they do until 9 o'clock. And it's a long week, you know what I mean? And so anyway, this was a Saturday morning. You know, he'd just been having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every week, and then like I remember I was up because like I just got up because I get my medication every morning and every night, and so I was up anyway, and like not up to get up, like I'd already been up, and so I was a little bit awake. And then so I remember I got my medication and I went and laid back down in my cell, and then I hear this yelling, and you got to understand, like, the doors have just been cracked, the medication was there right on unlock, so you know, basically the doors have been unlocked for under 10 minutes. And so because they've been unlocked for under 10 minutes, like, you know, I'm still pretty wide awake. It's first thing in the morning, and it is very, very, very quiet. And so anyway, it's very, very quiet, and like I'm laying down in my bed and I'm trying to snuggle up because, like, at Port Phillip, you know, they do their muster at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then the next muster is legit not until 11:45. So if you want to sleep in, you can sleep in. Like, they're going to come in and do their buzzer check and blah blah blah. It's hard to sleep in jail, and some people say it's even somewhat dangerous. And in some jails it is, because you can't snip your door over and lock it, you know, in the morning. It's like Barwon, you can't lock your doors there. If, you know, people want to run in on you, it's going to happen. And so anyway, I'm laying in bed and it's quiet. Like, you know, you can hear a pin drop, and then I hear this yelling, this ghastly screaming, and it was this guy abusing his girlfriend, wife, or boyfriend, whatever, or him, they, them, whatever. I don't know, mate, but it was his significant other. And so they're having a big, big argument, and it's loud as shit. And I'm like, "Bro, is this guy for real or what?" Like, my mate is literally, his cell was like right there where the phone was. So like, you walk out his door and the phone was right there. So anyone that was on the phone and being loud, you know, was going to wake this poor guy up, who was, you know, on a pretty serious murder trial, and it was taking its toll, I'm sure. And so anyway, I kindly took it upon myself, and I got out of my cell, and I yeah, I walked out of my cell, and I yelled out from my cell, which was maybe 10 metres away. And I'm like, "Oi, mate, keep it down, yeah?" I'm like, "Old mate's going to court there, you know this." And so he's like, "Yeah, yeah, sorry, mate, sorry, mate." And I'm like, "No, you're all right, mate, you're all right, mate." So I turned around and went and hopped back into my bed. And like, so it's literally like not even 15 seconds later, and this guy is going at it again, like legitimately, like going hard, like, oh, you fucking slut, all this shit, like doing the typical, you know, you're cheating on me, I hate you, I'm gonna leave you, and you know, the typical jail stuff, you know. And so I'm like, is this guy for real or what? And so I get up, and mind you, so like I've still got socks on because it's cold there at night, and so I've just got socks on, my boxer shorts, and I don't even think I had a t-shirt on. I might have had a t-shirt on, but like I'm fresh out of bed, and so like I'm standing at my door, and I'm like, oi bro, I told you to fucking shut up. Now shut up, yeah. I'm like, he's going to court, and this is his only break to have a sleep in, so shut up, mate. And like, you know, I really used a firm tone, and my language was a lot more, you know, had a bit more venom on it than it did before. Like, he could tell that I was pissed off, and you know, he reassured me that it wasn't going to happen again. And so I was like, all right, mate. And so anyway, I am laying in my bed, and once again, it wasn't even 30 seconds. It legit would have been 15 seconds. And this guy is yelling, screaming at the absolute top of his lungs, you know, that he's a slut and she's a slut. He's going to kill his girlfriend and all this other hero stuff, you know, people that bash women and kids, weak stuff, you know, all that kind of weak stuff that they yell at their girlfriends about. And so anyway, I was like, bro, I have had enough. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna ask him again. And so anyway, I come out my door and I'm like fucking fuming, and I'm like, bro, I thought I fucking said. And he turned around before I even had a chance to finish. He was like, you fucking rat, and he just went bang and put me straight on the rat. And he goes, you fucking rat, you've been trying to start fights with me all week. And then he dropped the phone and just ran at me. And so like I had moments to think, but like this was that loud, him yelling and calling me a rat, that would have got every single other person in the whole unit that heard that. As soon as you hear that word, you know that you're probably gonna hear it after it, you know, which is a general consensus when you call someone a rat. It is gonna be Donkey Kong on. And so, yep, this guy put me on the rat in front of the whole unit, right? So, but I had split seconds to think. Now, this guy was a lot bigger than me. Now, at the time, I would have been 115 kilos. I was pretty big. I was training pretty hard, but he was a lot bigger than me, and he was like running at me hard. And I just thought, you know, I'm going to make it look like I'm running at him, which I did. I made it look like I was running at him. And then right at the last moment, I just slipped to the side and just went bang and gave him a crisp one. Like, it lined him up perfectly, and he just skidded across his chin across the ground. And well, I jumped on that guy, and I can tell you now, I was giving him that many lefts, he was begging for a right. I goddamn hit him that many times, he thought he was surrounded. And I was saying, don't you ever call me a rat, you nasty person. Don't you ever do that. And so I was just really laying into this guy, because at this time, like I said, you know, you say rat and it doesn't even matter if it's that time in the morning, every single person that heard that is going to be on alert, because they know that generally after that there is going to be a fight. And so anyway, yep, I'm into this guy, and then next thing you know, I've got two of my mates who come and lend it a hand. And so I've got this guy, and like I'm really laying into him, and I look at my mates and I'm telling them to go away. And a funny story is the screw that called it, she was the screw that was on duty at the time, is actually not a screw anymore, and she's actually like legitimately one of my mate's girlfriends. And so she has told my mate that time there was the only time that she had to press the duress button. Excuse me. And so, you know, the duress button is when she presses it, security come. And then I remember, like, security came, and like I'm still like giving this guy cut lunches, and I just look up at security and they're like, stop, and I just went bang bang, gave him two more, and I stood up and I put my hands up, and like I've got like claret all over me, and you know, I'm like slowly walking back into my cell because like this happened like pretty close to my cell door, and yeah, so I actually got locked down for that and got put in the slot, and the other two dudes who came and laid the boots in actually did too. And funny story, one of them guys, I'm just gonna say he's Russian, and if you know, you know. If you've done jail in Vic, you know what I'm talking about. And this guy's an absolute nutter, you know what I mean? Like he's got bulletproof tattooed down there. I don't want to name drop, but if you know, you know. And so anyway, he's like, um, he's like, Biff, are you down here? And like in a full Russian accent, so we're both down in segregation in the slot. And he's like, Biff, are you down here? And I'm like, I'm hearing it. I'm like, oh, that sounds like Norm. And so like, oh, I just said his name. And so anyway, um, yeah, anyway, not to matter, I didn't say her last name, but yeah, like, he's like, I'm not going to be in here long. And I'm like, in where? And he's like, the slot. He's like, I'm going to be leaving very soon. And I'm like, why? And he's like, I ate my razor blades. And I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, yeah, I ate them both. And he's like, I'm going to hospital. And I'm like, you fucking crazy mofo. And so, like, he literally, like, we got taken from the unit and got taken down to segregation. So, three of us went down there. They put one of them in Borrowdale, which is like another slot unit. And they put me and old mate in there. And yeah, it was just crazy. He was like, I'm going now. And, like, he was so happy that he was going. And the funny thing was, I got a letter like 4 days later, and they literally took him to hospital, made him give, however they got the razor blades out, and whether he really did or he didn't is debatable, but it is something that people do, and it's definitely something he would do. And so, um, you know, I get a letter saying, it worked, I got out of the slot, and he's, you know, and I was like, yeah, you're a legend. I go, thanks for helping me and laying the boots in. I didn't need it, but he's like, I know, but I heard what he called you and you're not. And so it was pretty funny. And so that is like, that's my story time. But like my whole point of the story is, you know, this is the actions that you have to take. So if someone calls you a rat in jail, if someone calls you a rat in prison, jail, whatever, over here, prison and jail is the same thing. I know in America it's different, but it's the same thing here. And so, you know, if someone puts you on the rat and you do not act and do that, like really hurt someone, then that's going to happen to you anyway, because people are going to see that you are like scared, and then people are going to take advantage of that. But not only that, people are going to see that you didn't stand up for yourself, and they're going to definitely have something to say about you not standing up for yourself. And so then next thing you know, you're kicking back in your cell one day watching your 3 o'clock Grant Denyer shows, and then next thing you know, six people come in your cell and start giving you cut lunches and, you know, shanky shanky, shivvy shivvy, just because you were put on a rat and you didn't do anything about it. And, you know, this is the bullshit you have to deal with. So, like, even though you did nothing, so if someone called you a rat and you did nothing about it, then you are going to get got. And by get got, I think you know what I mean when I say that. So, like, and that is exactly just how it works. And so, you know, I guess my moral of the story is, you know, like most of my videos, if you don't want to go through this bullshit, you know, if you're sitting at home right now and you're thinking, geez, man, I don't want to go through that, but you're living this life, you're selling bags, you know, you're making money, you're doing all this mad shit, you know, when you get to jail, that is going to test out your gangster. Let me tell you that right now. You think you're a hard person outside, let me tell you now, you are going to get put to the test. If you get to jail and you think you're hard and you think you're harder than everyone else there, you better believe that there are going to be people that are going to rectify that and make sure that you know that you are not the hardest in that jail. And so it's basically, you know, it's just, trust me, you know, I see so many people fold and buckle when they get to prison because know they just know what it is, you know, and they can't handle it. And it happens all the time. You see all these big tough gangster hard men who think they're gangsters simply because they sell a bit of meth or drugs. Do you know what I mean? And the reality is that don't make you a gangster. And you better believe that the older blokes that have been doing this for a long time, like myself, you know, they are definitely, they don't care about your gangster stories. If you sit there and you tell me that you're a gangster every day for a week, I'm dead set gonna steer the craziest person I know into you to see how crazy you are. I'm gonna make sure that there's gonna be a fight just because you won't shut up and you won't stop telling me how much of a gangster you are. I'm gonna say, all right, well, if you want to be a gangster so much, let's test that gangster out. Hello, gangster number one. This is gangster number two, who's actually a real gangster, and you know he's well known for stabby in jail. So you know, why don't you guys get to know each other and just see what happens, you know, and put them to the test. And I'm not the only one who would do that. That's exactly what everyone's going to do. If you're sitting there air raiding and telling everyone how tough you are going to have a bad time. And so, you know, once again, my messages are always, if you don't want to go through none of this bullshit, don't fucking do crime. It is as simple as that. And I can't put it any more simple. And like, because there is going to be a time when you end up in jail. And if you don't, you are a snitch. And then you are going to get got anyway. So, you know, I've got this saying that I say, I'm not a preacher. So don't think that I'm sitting here and preaching. I'm absolutely not, you know. I'm just letting you guys know I'm not a preacher. I'm a prime example, and that is the reality of it. And my motto is, of late, is put the bag down and pick your kids up, guys. Next time you're thinking about going out with the boys and you know, having a couple of, you know, nose beers or nose tacos or whatever, just kick back and just say, you know, and even say to your mates, you know, I don't want to do this. And then, you know, if you are, you know, your mates are continuing to offer you drugs when you tell them that you don't want drugs, then you definitely don't want to do that, you know. Now, I know that a lot of you people don't take drugs, but there is a lot of my viewers that do take drugs, and, you know, I really want to put it, you know, into you guys, and I really want to start pumping the messages and let you guys know as well that, you know, you young guys that are carrying knives, I'm going to really start talking knife messages, because the knife crime is crazy. I've got 3 teenage boys and, well, actually 2 teenage boys now, and so, you know, the knife crime is absolutely crazy. And you know, what these kids don't understand is they're carrying knives for protection because every other one in their friend group is, and all their enemies or the ops carry knives. Now, let me tell you something. If you're in a position where you have a knife on you, and say, for instance, you're approached by a group of people and you pull the knife out, let me tell you right now, that knife is going to end up in you, you know, and I promise you, 80% of the time that's exactly how it works, because you pull that knife out because you're scared, and then bang, all 6 of them guys who are about to jump you go, holy shit, he's got a knife, bang, then they pull out a knife, and then it turns tenfold more crazy than it ever would have been if you hadn't have pulled that knife out. So my message is, you know, just next time you're walking out that door, guys, think about that. Think about when you pull that knife out, you guarantee you, there's an old saying, don't pull the sword out unless you're going to use it. And so, you know, that's a big thing with knives too, because like if you pull it out and people get, you know, people get scared, then everyone's going to pull their knife out, and then everyone wants to stab anyone, and then next thing you know, you got 5 or 6 blades flying. Someone's going to get seriously hurt, you know. So just leave the knives at home, guys. And yeah, alright guys, this has been the Chaos Chronicles. I am Biff. You guys are absolutely awesome. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Ciao.
You're getting closer to pushing me off a life's little edge.